Good evening and good welcome to Xbox Tavern's spoiler cast for the casting of Frank Stone, the latest in the Supermassive Games slash Behavior interactive horror movie series type thing. I am Jamie, and I am joined by the one, the only, the myth, the legend, special guest Pete. Hello, special guest Pete.
Hello.
Are
Hello,
you
good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, whether
whatever
you're listening or
time?
watching. Welcome to the show.
Damn right. Hello, welcome. We're going to be talking all sorts of spoilers for the casting of Frank Stone. Just come out on the 3rd of September. So yesterday is as of recording. Reviews up now on xboxtavern.com if you want to go read mine and special guest Pete's words on what we thought on the game overall. Obviously, that was quite spoiler free. So we got into the general gist of the gameplay and the looks and what you can expect from it. But today we're going to spend an amount of time, who knows how many minutes / hours we're going to talk about it, because I feel like we both enjoyed it quite a lot, talking more fine details like character deaths, character survivals, different aspects of stuff that we couldn't really get into in the review because of spoilers. So special guest Pete, would you like to just give us a quick rundown of the general overview of what the casting of Frank Stone is?
It's a video game.
Cool, right. So then we go.
That wraps it. No, it's as Jamie, it's that long worded genre that Jamie said that I can't remember. It's set in the world of Dead by Daylight, made by Supermassive Games, who, me and Jamie at least have a track record of very much enjoying their games. Obviously, it's been a while since the was it Devil in Meat, the last release wasn't it, last year?
The last one for the Dark Pictures series, yeah.
Yeah, for the Dark Pictures series, yeah. And obviously we've been getting the itch and we've been talking about it again, when's the next one? And of course, this one kept on cropping up. And even though myself never played Dead by Daylight, obviously here on Xbox Tavern, it was
one of our Project Game Pass.
That's what it was called. I was like Game Pass. I was like, no, the Project Game Pass, wasn't it, for a month? But obviously for myself, having never played it, never seen the world, I was still very much intrigued to kind of, get stuck into this game because I do love them. Until Dawn was kind of the first one that really kind of, I think, but like yourself, Jamie, kind of really kind of had our attention, and then we just wanted more from there. And I don't think there's been a bad one since then.
No, there's been less good ones, but nothing that I haven't at least enjoyed in some aspect or another.
Yeah, I mean, there was the weakest one that I think we both agreed on, but they've all been very good games. And this one is longer paced. So obviously you got the Dark Pictures anthologies, those games obviously in their own little universe. And of course, was it 2022 or 21? They brought out was it 2022? They brought out The Quarry.
I think it was 2022 if I remember rightly. I did look at your review for that just yesterday, actually, but.
Yeah, that was a longer paced game. Obviously, the Dark Pictures series is. You can complete it in about 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours. So they're pretty short.
Yeah.
And The Quarry was a good kind of 10 to 12 hours, wasn't it? And it kind of built the suspense. And this one, it's got 14 chapters. Unlike, I think, the usual Dark Pictures has usually got about kind of 4 chapters in it. You do like a bit of a long thing, and then you have the kind of intermittent with whether you're speaking to the narrators. So this one is a bit more slow paced, like the Quarry.
Indeed it is. And I found, speaking of chapters while we're on that subject, they were quite quick, some of them. Like, I was surprised it suddenly went like 6, 7, 8, 9. I was like, hang on, these chapters are flying by. And there was one that split in two, and I don't remember which number it was now, but it sort of did half of it. Then you went to sort of a flashback to a different time period, and then you went back to finish the chapter off. I think it's chapter 10, maybe. But yeah, they're all pretty short. So overall, like I said, probably at most you're looking at 8 to 9 hours. It's not as short as the Dark Pictures, but it's nowhere near as long, I don't think, anyway, as the Quarry felt like it was.
No, it's got more chapters in the Quarry, but they're a lot shorter, like you said. This one skips. Well, there is 3 time periods technically, but you play 2 main ones. There's the prologue, which is 1963, and then which is what you're seeing on screen now. This is the prologue, and then you've got the 2 main eras or decades you play, which is 1980 and 2024.
Yeah, and across those you've got some characters who cross all three, like Sam Green, the police officer on screen here in his lovely alternate outfit.
Yeah, this is the alternate
as well,
outfit. Because everyone's wondering if it's a bit flamboyant.
that's
I'll
what
be
the
honest
shit.
with
That's
you, when I first saw this, I was like, "Is he a Nazi?" I generally think it gave me like Nazi uniform vibes. I just like that is such a weird kind of like uniform.
It's
It
quite
was like I had like Nazi vampire vibes. It was pretty cool.
quite an impressive outfit he's got going on there. I haven't actually seen the other alternate outfits yet. I'll be intrigued to check them out. I didn't get around to playing them in the end, but
You'll see him.
yeah. So you got Sam Green, who is a constant throughout at least this period you're seeing, and 2024 as well. You get a group of kids who are in 90s and 80s who are making a film called Murder Mill, which this whole sort of plot revolves around. And again, some of them end up interacting in 2024 with another set of characters, which it sounds confusing, but I think they did quite a good job of keeping it relatively simple to keep track of who was who and what time you're in, and who was from what stuff, because there's all sorts of time travel stuff going on, which we'll get into.
I was gonna mention that, because I think usually with games, when they do the time travel thing, it doesn't usually mold together that well, whereas I think here it's done really well. You get to a point in the story where it's like, okay, there's a pause, and then you go to a flashback, or you pause and you go back into the future, and I think that bit's very well done.
Yeah, it's handled very, very nicely indeed. So, as we said, you got 3 different time periods. Did you have a preference of like the set of characters you get to meet? Because personally, I think I preferred the modern day, like 2024 set, even though that it did also include Stan. I did enjoy Madison and like the older Linda, and then eventually the sort of alternate timeline Sam Green that we got visiting us as well.
Yeah, because there's only 5 characters you get to control. Well, there's 6 technically, because obviously you get to control Sam in the prologue. But obviously in the 1980s, you get to control Jamie, Chris, and Jamie. That's the one. It's spelled Jamie, so I thought, oh, Jamie. Oh no, it said Jamie. Okay. So yeah, you get Jamie, Chris, and Linda in the 1980s. And like Jamie said, in 2024, you get older Linda, and then Madison, or Maddie, as she's called in the game. Yeah. So you get 5 people that you kind of interact with. Obviously, Stan is in 2024, and he's not linked with any of the other 2 kind of time periods. I think, like yourself, I think he's one of those characters that he's no one likes him, but I think like it's not like a disdain for the well, it is a disdain for the character, but it's almost like an acknowledgement of he's very well written as a person to hate. A bit like King Joffrey. I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones, but a bit like Joffrey was in Game of Thrones, where you despised him, and you kind of like in a game like this, where your actions make the differences in terms of who dies and who lives. Yeah, Stan's one of those characters where you're like, do you know what? If he just gets cut in half, I wouldn't mind. You kind of want to see. You kind of might want to see it,
Like, at one point, I think we were both like, how can we kill him? I did actually kill him my first playthrough when, in the Horriglum room or whatever it's called. Again, we'll get to that sort of stuff later on. But as you said, it's the kind of character that they made for you to root on to be killed rather than trying to save him like everyone else.
Yeah, it's a very tricky role to try and write, isn't it? Because you've got to get that balance up right. Because it's like, if another game you didn't really play, Final Fantasy X, you had Seymour in there who was one of the main bosses, and he kept coming up like 3 or 4 times, and it just like that was like a hatred, like please go away, like character. Just I've defeated you 4 times. Just please stop coming back. You're not interesting anymore. Whereas Stan, like you're quite excited. Oh, he's in the scene. Is he going to die now? Can he die now? You're kind of quite excited to kind of see his demise, as morbid as that may sound.
And the few ways, I don't know if you've managed to kill him off any other way other than right at the end, but one in the Horriglum is particularly impressive, and he didn't really stand much of a chance. So I won't spoil that for you necessarily, but if you get a chance,
is this a spoiler cast, Shay? We can say whatever we like.
This is a spoiler cast. But I'll save that one little nugget. If you can kill him in there, like I did accidentally, I'll just give you a heads up. It involves one of the quick A button quick time events, which I wasn't ready for, and I missed the button completely. So he proper bet his maker there. So the general gist of the gameplay, as you're watching the footage, especially SP, is recorded much like the other Supermassive games like Dark Pictures and Until Dawn and The Quarry. you get little areas of exploration where you're looking for clues and story beats and hidden items and stuff like that. And then eventually you trigger a sort of progression part, which I think is this part here. Although you can't see because our heads are in the way. If you, unlike in the old games, as Special Guest Pete mentioned in his write up, you could accidentally pick up an item and progress the story when you weren't ready. Whereas in this one, you actually have to hold down the button to interact with the final item in that area. So if you see that little prompt, you know you can go away and explore a little bit more and pick up other stuff and find hidden collectibles and stuff without worrying about accidentally moving yourself forward. A lot of the time, obviously, you're watching cutscenes. Sometimes there'll be dialogue choices, sometimes there'll be quick time events, sometimes a mix of both. And I think overall, the ones in Frank Stone were actually quite well handled in terms of nothing really felt out of place. Some of the other games, especially Little Hope, which I think you referenced earlier as being both of our least favourite. Sometimes you pick a dialogue choice and the next scene would be almost like random in its tone. It wouldn't sort of mesh together, whereas I didn't find, I've played this through twice now and I haven't found any moment where I thought, hang on a minute, it wasn't quite what I was looking for, but it didn't seem out of place at the same time. What about yourself? Do you find any issues there, or do you find anything that you thought, hang on, this isn't quite right?
No, I think I can't really add too much what you really said there, to be honest. It was very well kind of put together, like timings wise. Like I think we already said, it's very smooth from beginning to end. It's very much easy to kind of keep yourself going. And I think obviously, like you can see on the screen there, you've got all the collectibles and that to all do. The good thing is if you start a completely new game, the collectibles and that do stay with you. And you might have seen, if you're paying attention, that the screen flashed red. So a bit like, I think, the accessibility feature in the Last of Us Part 2, where when you clicked in the thumbstick, it let out a little radar, and it would show you the trinket that you missed or may have missed. If it's not there, it means you've found it in the room, because obviously a lot of the replayability of these games is going back in the cutting room floor, which I'm sure we'll get to. And if the completionists still want to get the trinkets they mixed, and the good thing is it only pops up when you've missed one, so you don't have to worry about clicking it in every single kind of scene you go into. Yeah,
and I did use it actually the other last night when I played through the final chapter again, just to see some different options, and that was the first time it popped up and I was like, oh, I missed a collectible on here. That's awesome. So I've got most of them now. I've just got one or two go back and find when I play through it again at some point. But it's a nice little feature. And then we'll talk about the cutting room floor, and then we'll get properly into heavy spoilers of characters, like I said, all the successful and less successful moments that we had. So the cutting room floor, as Special Guest Pete mentioned, once you finish it, or if you buy the deluxe edition, you get it straight away, although it's pretty much pointless until you've at least finished the game once. Is a way of seeing all the different choices you could make, that you have made, or that you haven't made yet. So it's all presented in like a storyboard format. So you have like the start of the scene here, and then you have various offshoots that will point towards various outcomes you could have gone should you chosen one option over another, or one character over another, etc., etc. And it all shows just how much variety there is in some of the simple choices. Whether you choose to help someone or run away, whether you choose to accept someone's friendship or tell them to get stuff, kind of thing. And there's a lot of variety that will then obviously butterfly effect its way right the way through the game. And you can go back at any point with this cutting room floor and start from select parts of each chapter. So it's mainly the start of the chapter, but there are a couple of bits I've noticed where you can start sort of mid-chapter as well if you want to. But you can see again what choices you've made, and so you can try and figure out what different options you need to choose. And it also will tell you if you've missed collectibles, as well as if a scene will result in someone's death. There'll be like a skull icon underneath it. It won't tell you who will die, obviously, but it will tell you that if you choose this option, someone will die. So if you're trying to kill everyone off, or if you're trying to kill a specific character, then you've at least got some sort of hint as to where to look next.
I mean, I made a note of this earlier when I was making my notes, and obviously we won't dive into the finale now, but I counted 16 potential different endings.
Yeah.
There was like two ending scenes that I've seen, and then there was 14 more padlocks to be unlocked. So there's a lot of variation in this game depending on kind of where you want to take your story. And even early in the game, you get to a point where you're looking for a new camcorder, and you can go into like the shop of mysteries, where you can just go to the normal what's it called, a pawn shop? The drugstore, that's the one. I forget what Americans call it, the old drugstore. And in my first playthrough, I went to the mystery store first, and the second playthrough I went to the drugstore first. And going to the drugstore first actually kind of unlocked another collectible that I missed. So it does kind of pay to kind of see both ways.
Yeah, and at least, like you said, we haven't got to then play through the whole game again just to get back to that scene to do it a different way. We could start from any chapter we like and just start and carry on from there. I think I did the curiosity shop first, and then the drugstore the second time. And I preferred the drugstore side of it because it give a bit more, flesh things out a bit better before we went and got the camera from the other shop.
Yeah, and what I've noticed as well is, I don't know if you noticed as well, Jamie. Obviously, your camera breaks and you're looking to buy a new camera or get your old one fixed. And what I've noticed, obviously, you can when you're Hamey, you can ask your sister Bonnie for money for the camera. Yeah. And I actually found this out because from the picture. So when my first playthrough, I asked you can either ask for $10 or $20, and I asked for $20 the first time. I thought it'd be cheeky to see how it works out. And when you get to the store to purchase the camera, it is actually $20. So I've got enough. But then when I actually saw the picture said $10, and I was like, oh, okay. So maybe it doesn't really matter what you choose, you get the camera either way. But then obviously, the woman that ran the shop, I'm sure we'll get to that spoiler later. When I got to the end, I was like, oh, of course. Like that's why it changed, because obviously they wanted you to have the camera. So, I was like, that's a clever bit of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does change, because both times the first time I did 20, second time I took $10 from Bonnie, and the label on the camera was different both times to match what I had. You can actually steal money from her as well. I don't know how we managed to do that, because I couldn't quite figure out the option to piss her off.
From Bonnie or from the old lady?
Yeah, you can get it where I guess she doesn't give you the money, and you can just steal it from her purse.
All right.
But I haven't explored that option. That's just looking through the achievements that I haven't unlocked yet, just to see what other sort of things there are up there. And there's quite a lot of interesting stuff, like I said to you. But that was one of them. I was like, I don't even know how you would get to the point where you steal money, because I don't remember there being an option to piss her off that much. But there must be a way of doing it. So I look forward to trying that out. So the can't move form features, very good, very, very handy for going back and playing again. Like I said, I just played the last chapter again, just to try and keep everyone alive this time, rather than losing. Who did I lose the first time? I think it was Linda. Linda got eaten by Frankenstein. Well, we'll get to that. Whoa, spoilers.
That came out, and I was like, oh. I mean, obviously, having never played the game, I didn't realize that's the thing. Is that something from the game where Frankenstein eats? Well, sorry, I don't even know if Frankenstein's even in the game. I mean, in the game, it's 4v1, isn't it? Does the baddie eat people? So
in Dead by Daylight, excuse me, Frankenstein's not in it, but although there's probably a good chance he's going to end up being a DLC character at some point. But it's like one serial killer, some based on more sort of movie-based serial killers, some unique creations against 4 humans, and a lot of the stuff they brought into this game from that is doing the generators. That's how you escape the levels. You have to power up the generators. The sort of hook thing that he puts Bonnie on, as well as the hand thing that comes up and kills Lieber right at the end, that comes out the ground. And obviously the little trinkets and stuff are little Easter eggs from the game, but that's pretty much it. So there probably is a killer in there that does eat them or something, but they've all got their own unique ways of killing people, by fear, whatever. But they all end up on the hooks, end up taken away to the entity that is the overall arching bad guy in all of Dead by Daylight, as far as I understand. Again, we only played it for that 1 or 2 streams we did, and I haven't really touched it since then. And when I did play it, I played as Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil anyway, so I don't really never really got properly into Dead by Daylight. But yeah, that's a general sort of overview of the cast and the Frank Stone. If you like Supermassive games, like we said, like Dark Pictures and Until Dawn and The Quarry and stuff, I don't think you'll find anything you won't like here. Obviously, our review is up now. Like I said, we gave it a 9.2, very, very positive, probably one on the higher end of the scale. I've seen other reviews that have given it as low as like a 4 or a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
And they seem to have complaints about it, like the slow pacing and bad story, which I think is the strength of the game, which is a very good story and very good set of characters. And the gameplay is pretty slow, but you don't do a lot of it. It's mostly dialogue choices and sort of quick time events and stuff like that, which I really enjoy. So yes, if you're into that, then great. If you're not, then I still think this is one of the better games to play. And
it's like obviously I won't call them out by name because I'm not like that, but the reviewer that I showed you that gave him a 5 out of 10. He played it. He said he played it for about 1 or so hours over 3 days. Well, he played it 1 hour, 1 or so hours each day for 3 days. I'm like, you probably played for about 3 hours. This kind of game, I think if you do, you kind of need to do more than like 1 hour chunks, I think, because it kind of breaks up the play. And these kinds of games, you kind of got like, you get kind of immersed in the story. So I was a bit puzzled that, at least he did admit that, we said that it takes 8-9 hours. So really, if he's only played 3 hours, and he's probably only played through a third of the game, where, the big bad doesn't really reveal itself in the first third of the game. Obviously, with the early.
But again, everybody's concept of time is I saw some people saying they played it for 4 hours when actually they finished it, so they must have played it for longer than that. But it feels but anyway. We don't need to get too much into that because that's not part of the spoiler goodness. Part of the spoiler goodness is what we're going to get into right now. So like I said, before we get into that, again, xboxtavern.com, please go check out the reviews we got up there. We've got plenty up there, including the one from Cast and the Frank Stone. And if you're watching this on YouTube, which hopefully you are because I've managed to upload it successfully, give us the old YouTube goodness, whatever it is down there. Like, subscribe. Pete, you want them to like and subscribe? Yeah, you do.
I do, please. It would mean an awful lot. It helps the little guys like us out that are trying to grow. We need to take down Mr. Beast and the was it the Japanese? I can't remember. Was it those Japanese? Not the Japanese guys. Is it the K-pop? Is it K-pop? I don't know. Anyway,
we need to take down K-pop.
We need to take down PewDiePie. 50 million subs. What are we on? 1,000?
Yeah, we're halfway there. We're working our way up.
Yeah.
Excuse me. With this video come out,
all I say is I want to be a millionaire by this time next year. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe button.
That's definitely how it works. So yeah, check it out. Anyway, that's enough pluggles for me in the midst of this. So Pete, let's get into proper spoilers now. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. We don't have to go through it step by step of the whole game because we'll be a fucking ever. But we can just go through some things. So let's start with the whole Frank Stone / Augustine Lieber thing. So the very opening, again, Pete's gameplay of the first 90 minutes or so we got running in the background. You get sort of a voiceover of a lady talking about, bringing the entity back to our world and destroying it, and Frank Stone and all sorts of stuff. And we get to see Frank Stone as he's about to kill his final victim, which turns out to be a baby in a hand basket. And then as you go through the game, it turns out that Augustine Lieber is a bit more... mystical was the right word, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah,
she is transcending time and space to try and bring whatever the entity needs, including by using Frank Stone to kill all these people and get whatever it is he gets out of killing all these people to bring this big bad to the world.
Yeah, because there's this big thing about watching this movie, right? And watching the movie kind of makes people do murderous things or whatever. And it seems like, there's about 3 or 4 iterations of Miss Lieber or Dr. Lieber in like one timeline. And obviously, towards the end, obviously, they're watching the movie and you're like, hang on, that didn't happen. Because obviously you get the point where Bonnie gets put on the thing. You're like, no, that definitely didn't happen. And then you see obviously the t-shirt or the merchandise where obviously ours is like Murder Mill. And there's the...
it's like Murder Manor and Murder, all sorts of random variation.
there's little clues early on when you pick up books about, oh look, multiverse, omniverse. So there's little clues to kind of lead up to the kind of the big old reveal of what Dr. Leaver's been up to and what her kind of plan is. And it's a nice payoff. I mean, Stan's death annoyed me because it's just, that's the only thing that annoyed me about Stan, is that his death was, obviously I know he can die on more than one occasion, but the way he died for me was, it didn't feel that satisfying. It felt like he was being stupid. Like, you know, I guess
right at the end.
We're in a spoiler cast, so I know we'll jump back and forth. Yeah. But, you know, in my scene when we're at with the movie scene, you know, I had Sam sacrifice himself to Linda. Sam got eaten. And then Maddie and Linda, you know, they're all banging on the gates. Oh, I don't know why they're shouting help, because they're in this manner and no one else can hear them. But anyway, it's the horror movie thing to do. You know, help, get me out of here.
Exactly.
Please,
no logic at all. Just sail around and hope for the best.
Yeah, Maddie and Linda, they lift the gate. They lift the gate up and they escape. And Stan looks at them because at this point, you know, obviously you got. There's a bit of a gap, and Frank Stone's like in the middle, so he's not approaching either person. And like Stan's looking at him, going, but then he just continues to knock on the door, and I'm like, lift the gate up, Stan. I want you to die, but lift the gate up. Don't die a stupid way. Lift the gate up, please. Lift the gate up.
Yeah, at least have a little bit of fight in you.
And he doesn't, and he just gets his head, you know, put a top in it. And it also, when I chose a different route where I actually chose to sacrifice. Well, Sam didn't sacrifice himself and Linda died. And it's the same thing, but actually this time it's Sam and Maddie go for a different door, but Stan still left at his gate going, let me out. Which is a bit of a... I know, like I said, I know there's more than one ways that you can die, but that was kind of...
In that particular scene, I mean, we've kind of glossed over the movie aspect. We'll get into that in a second, but in that particular scene, I killed Stan the first time. Like you said, he was banging at the gate. Except I'd given him the little trinket, the little necklace that Maddie had found was supposed to be protective.
And
he's standing, he's standing there. And he's like, and he's like, wait, and he pulls it out of his pocket and he holds it up, and Frank Stone stops.
Okay.
Wow, maybe it works. And he's holding it, and instead of just using it and walking away while he's still holding it up, he starts swinging it, and like he's hypnotizing Frank Stone, and then he throws it. He goes fetch, and Frank Stone turns around, just turns back to him and just smashes his skull in. It looked like it was working. But yeah, so. And then the other time, I let him eat him when he grabs him through the cinema screen. But yeah, so we kind of got away from everything. We're just going to be rambling all over the place here. But yeah, again, Augustin Lieber is across time and space, all sorts of different versions, like you said. But she's looking for the movie Murder Mill, like you said, which was shot by Linda, Jaime, Chris, is it? Chris?
Yeah, Chris, yeah.
And Robert and Bonnie eventually sort of join them as well. And in one of the timelines, it seems Frank Stone was captured on this film, and so she's trying to reunite all the pieces back together to make a whole, so she can bring him back, because he was killed by Sam Green in one of the other timelines in the Murder Mill, which is where they shot the film. It all gets very confusing indeed. But yeah, the whole idea is that they're trying to bring this film back together to bring Frank Stone back so he can go back on his murderous rampage and kill everyone. She takes up two different forms, like the old lady and the one we see at the house itself. And she is a bit of a and in the shop, she's a bit of a conniving motherfucker, because she purposely gives them the camera you mentioned earlier on that they can buy from the shop, which is then going to capture Frank Stone's essence from the mill as they're filming, and that's how they end up bringing him back, because they effectively capture him, and then she gets the film pieces back together, plays it all in one go, and he comes out the screen and murders everyone if he gets his hands on. Augustine Lieber, again, she's trying to bring this entity, so she is just a bit of a fucker, really. She's trying to bring down the end of humanity across all of time, not just in one timeline.
I think she's written quite well. And you know, it's not that she's on a murderous rampage or she wants to take over the world. She just wants to, for whatever deluded reason, bring back this ultimate killer, which you'll see for the first time soon. Once this cutscene This is the bit. This is obviously we're in 1963 at the moment. You can see on your screen, and it's the J. I'll be able to see how I got the achievements. Yeah, I was tempted by the ladder, but I was like, do you know what? Because I did ramp first time as well, and I was like, I just had this feeling that if I did ladder, it would break. Because in these games, when you take the ladder, like you always have the choice of, do you know what? It's do you actually save? Who can you save? You know, do you do the quick route and save him, or you take a bit longer and risk him dying, kind of thing? But obviously the quick way obviously always has more obstacles, and I was like, if I do that ladder, it's probably going to break and I'm going to fall down or whatever.
Well, I'll ruin it for you because we are on the spoiler cast. It literally is just a quicker way of getting up there. The thing still falls from the ceiling, but it falls a bit quicker. But otherwise, you're literally up there. But I chose to do the ladder when I also chose to not fight Frank Stone properly, just to see what would happen. So it probably, I imagine, if you get up there and fight him properly, you might end up, I don't know, finishing it a bit quicker or something. But you have a bit of a fist fight, like I said here, and you can either choose. In a second, you'll see to shoot Frank Stone or to free yourself, and these simple
I didn't get that.
sort of actions. Like you can, this is the other thing as well. I broke my torch the first time, so I didn't get this option to blind him with the light.
Break the torch.
Didn't make. Yeah, you know when Sam Green just a minute ago grabs onto the wall, so I'm falling.
Yeah.
I missed the prompt, so he drops the torch, and then you don't get that option.
Yeah, because obviously one of the things we put up in our reviews, you did, was that the A button was a bit lagging when it came to the QTE. Like you saw earlier, I missed one. That was generally me forgetting about the lag.
It did at times. I eventually got used to it, but at times, especially early on, it was a bit like, oh shit, it's sort of come up already. But like I said, this bit here where he's got his shoulder sort of.
This bit's a bit weird because how is gravity not pulling him down? Like, why is he not hanging like that? Like,
there is that. But if you don't manage to successfully pull him off of the pipe now, it breaks and it remains in his shoulder for a little bit, and it ends up sort of coming back later on where he's not quite as strong in his arm, in his shoulder as he could have been otherwise. And the same if you don't shoot Frank Stone, he actually ends up killing the baby, throwing it in the pit itself.
Nice.
Which again then comes back, I think, like chapter 12 or 13 when Linda's when she finds all the different films and stuff. There's a newspaper article there saying his final victim was the baby. Who again, spoiler cast, I'm just going to tell you the name of the baby. It was Jaime.
Oh, really? Oh, wow!
But again, in one different, in a different timeline.
So then you don't get Jaime.
No, you still get him because again, it's sort of different timelines and stuff. But in one particular timeline, it was Jaime that he killed by throwing the basket in the sort of molten lava vat. There you can see. So either way you do it, Frank Stone dies, but it's possible to cock it up a bit more than you've just done there. And again,
I love this shot. Sorry,
really, really good.
The pan of it, and it's like, oh, hang on, there's a spear right through his jaw,
right through it. And again, that's paid off later on when he comes back, and the sort of zombified Frank Stone doesn't have a lower jaw because it's obviously was ripped off of him. There's lots of awesome shots. Like the presentation in the game is tremendous. I think one of the best ones they've done. I think, in terms of the quality of the visuals and the shots. I mean, like that, it's just. Gruesome but awesome.
Yeah, cause I know we won't talk on other people's reviews, but I did see some that I think you mentioned well that graphically it didn't look as good, and I'm like, were they playing the same game? Yeah,
I was wondering that. I mean,
my TV is for 4K and all that, but it's not the best. It doesn't do 120 hertz. It's definitely kind of middle of the road kind of TV, and you can see from what I captured, it looks pretty damn good, to be honest.
Yeah, I had the good fortune to play it both on PC, Xbox Series X, and Xbox Series S. And the Series S version definitely looks worse by quite a margin, but it still looks great. It's just compared to the highest quality X and the laptop I've got here, which is very capable. It let me run it fucking ultra settings on everything, which was amazing. And it looked, just a million miles better than the Series S. But it's still, again, a good looking game on the Series S itself. I like her beanie.
Cup. I just noticed the cup.
Oh, the cup. A bit of foreshadowing there.
Okay.
A bit of foreshadowing on the cup there. So Madison here, again, she's one of the main ones you play as on sort of like the 2024 side. it transpires is Bonnie's daughter, who was, again, as Pete said, the sister of Jaime back in the 1980s. And she then has a sort of connection with Linda, who is now old in this timeline. And obviously that's how she got her part of the film, because they've all split up these parts of the film that captured Frank Stone, so that they tried to prevent him from coming back. And that's what Augustine Lieber's called everyone together for, because she wants all these pieces they've got to finally again make the film and bring him back and cause havoc, which she does quite successfully, at least in the times I played it through. I think.
I mean, it wouldn't be a game if she didn't.
Exactly. Yeah. She'd be like, "Darn, I failed it." 20 minutes in. Let's just call it a day. Let's go back to America and chill out for a little bit. So Madison probably was one of my favorite characters. I think she was quite well performed and written, and because she sort of had links to the sort of the overarching thing, but she wasn't directly involved like Linda, and she wasn't a cunt like Sam. She was I quite enjoy playing as her and sort of experience her side of the story and stuff, even though she did come across quite weak at times. There was one part where Sam sort of saves her from Frank Stone right at the end, and he's like, "Run!" And she had the option to fight back or run, and it just felt like she would never have fought back. So I was like, "Yeah, okay, we'll just run away and survive to fight another day," which is probably the right option, but I will choose the other option at some point and see what she tries to do.
The only thing with Maddie is obviously, unless I've just completely forgotten it, obviously you can see from these cutscenes, she's got a few mental demons. Maybe it's because of, spoiler, her mum, Bonnie, had just passed a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know if, the mental things she's going through is because of that, but I don't think it's explained what she's going through or why.
I think because she does mention she's grieving, and obviously Augustine Lieber reached out to her while she was grieving. But I don't know if it's partly, obviously, like you said, like the cup is a spoiler for when she gets to the mansion. That's the cups that Lieber has in her house. And obviously the creepy visuals and what we'll see in a second when she meets a character on the bench here. It all sort of ties back towards the end of the game, because this is like where the fireplace is and the campfire is, I should say. And it all sort of converges back into, it's a bit of like foreshadowing, a bit of a hinting, but you don't really know that till you get right to the end anyway. And the TV as well, of course, it comes back into play later on.
There's actually, like, compared to other Supermassive games, there's actually not many jump scares in this, is there? It's just definitely like someone like Ian, who he likes horror games, he just doesn't like the jump scares, right? So this is kind of like, if you like horror games, but you have to be worried about jump scares in this game. This is all about the ambience and just the atmosphere and the way it's themed. This game didn't feel like it needed jump scares. There's a few little ones in there, but
I mean, we're about to see one which I suppose was supposed to be a bit of a jump scare,
because it's not like a quick in your face. It's kind of like a slow reveal, isn't it? Obviously it's a scary face. You definitely wouldn't want to see that in a dark alley. But it wasn't like a quick in your face. It was like a slow. I'm going to shoot in my face now.
A quick pan up, a bit like the old Resident Evil zombie when he turns around as he's eating I always got to find a way to bring it back to Resident Evil somehow. So as I said, the timeline jumps all over the place. I did quite, like I said, enjoy the part with Linda and Chris and Jaime and that doing the film. I feel like the chapter where they're sort of getting to the mill was perhaps a little bit slower, like when they're going through the forest on the back roads, because the sheriff doesn't like them being there, obviously, because he's haunted by the demon of like Frank Stone and all this sort of stuff that happened there. But once he got into the mill,
I chose the shortcut route, because when you get to the mill, you can choose to go the long way to avoid his route, or you can go the short way. Just now, actually, before we got on, I actually just did that bit, and it's much shorter, and there's no, obviously you see Sam flashing his flashlight, but there's no QT or anything. You just hide from it, and you're there a lot quicker. So it's
that was definitely a lot shorter, and it had a collectible, whereas the other way had a. I don't know if I had a collectible the other way or not, but it was definitely a lot longer and a bit more explanatory of all stuff. All right, so next question. Then it seems it's just about to come up. First time through, did you stop and pick up the hitchhiker on the side of the road?
I did because I'm a nice person, so I
You
like
are,
to see
and
the good
yes,
in the people,
that,
And
that was a good
at
choice.
first, obviously, obviously you see that you thought, oh, God, man, I saw the walking stick and I was like, do you know what? It's possibly an old person, so you know, probably not much danger. So I was quite happy to pull over. I did get a bit worried when she got in the car because I was like, she's a little bit distant. She didn't seem very thankful for the lift. So I was like, oh God, is this gonna? How is this gonna? How's this
Come
gonna
back to bite
result?
you in the arse. Yeah.
Turns out Linda's a nice woman.
Indeed, and quite integral to the story.
And obviously, the alternate costume, obviously makes them look that much older as well.
And a bit more sinister as well. I probably would
Yeah,
think
definitely.
twice about picking someone up wearing shades at night, but
Yeah. I mean, they're very thick shades as well. They're the ones that goes over the eyes, so they're very kind of like, yeah. And we'll get to that saying later, but there's actually in the alternate costume, you can see the glasses she's wearing there. When you go back in time to 1980, she's actually got the same glasses, but she's wearing them on her head rather than over her eyes. So I think that's a pretty cool thing to put in the costume. Like, so she's had those glasses for like 25 years.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Nice. Did you at all not pick her up, perhaps on your second playthrough, or did you always grab
her? I picked her up both times. I wanted to, but I can't. I don't have it in me to leave her on the side of the road.
It's definitely better to pick her up because if you don't pick her up, you obviously just drive past her. You get to the mansion on your own, and then that whole scene in like the foyer when you're looking around, it's just Madison walking around in silence. Basically, you don't have anyone to talk to or anyone to bounce anything off of. Everything's still exactly the same. Otherwise, it's just makes that couple of minutes a little bit less interesting because you haven't got someone there to shoot the shit with.
Yeah,
and then obviously you end up meeting Stan on your own as well, which is dangerous because he's a bit of a slime bag.
Yeah, and I imagine she'll be that much colder to you as well because I imagine she does. Oh, you're the person who drove past me, you bitch.
It's basically, yeah. I don't know quite how she could tell in the dark, especially with them shades on. But yes,
yeah. Well, I mean, she probably recognised the car, I imagine, then just put two and two together.
Yeah. But yeah, so moving way forward now, we're going to get to what happens when we understand that Augustine Lieber's trying to mess them around. She has disappeared. They break into I forget the name of the room now where she keeps all of her artifacts.
Is it the reliquary or something? It's called?
Yeah, reliquary. There we go.
I can never say it. That's the first time I saw that word. I was like, that's a posh word, bitch.
And so so you break into this room that has got like a small puzzle attached to it. All the puzzles are fairly simple, really, all things considered. But solve the puzzle, get into there. You're having a look around all the artifacts. There's like things again that sort of hint at twisted timelines and things that may or may not have happened according to the characters that we have in the room, which is Linda, Maddie, and Stan. A lift appears. Someone steps out, punches Sam in the face straight away, which, I mean, perfect introduction.
Stan?
But it turns out it's actually Sam Green, but an old Sam Green, but not quite as old as he could be.
No, this is what
should be.
I was sitting there going, hang on a minute. Linda's old now, right? She's got the grey hair. She looks like she's in her 60s. Why does Sam look either slightly younger or the same age? I was like, have they really done this? Like, because I obviously at that point we had no idea about the time travel stuff, right? At least I hadn't clocked it. And I was sitting there going, is that a design oversight? I was like, and that's when it was like, maybe it will come to light something later. But I was very kind of like, hang on. I was very in the what the hell was, why does he look that young kind of camp?
Yeah. Which is then obviously explained later on when they have a bit of a heart-to-heart in the room where Linda finds all the different alternate takes of Murder Mill and Murder Maze and Murder Lake and all sorts of different things that they got, where he is Sam Green, but he's not necessarily the Sam Green she knew. He is, I think at one point he says he's been gone before, but he always comes back, alluding to the fact that he's either died or has traveled to different times and been all over the place. I think the way they handled the twist and the setting of the time stuff was quite, again, well done. It could be very confusing, but I felt like I managed to keep track with most of it for the majority of the time. There were a few times, but
because like in all Supermassive Games, there always seems to be a standout like main character Whereas I feel like in this one, I don't really think there was. However, I think that, yin and yang, I think, Sam Green is, yin and Lieber is yang. Because obviously now it makes sense why, Sam would be patrolling the mill every night. Because I imagine he's waiting for some kind of reoccurrence, some kind of different thing to come out. So, once you played the game and then you start playing the scenes again, it does a lot of these things. For me, who's got a bit of a slower brain, it starts checking, going, "Oh, that's why he's patrolling. Oh, look, the glass. Oh, look, the woman in the shop. Yeah,
it all sort of comes back into play. And they do it. Yeah, they do a great job of planting these little seeds, like you said. All them examples of as you go through again, you're like, obviously you wouldn't have known that first time, but now you do know that. Now you keep an eye out for something else that might come.
It's the subtle clues
down the line.
I think would make that will come back later, but that actually do.
Yeah. And there's obviously a lot of choices, like we said, with the cutting room floor. You can see just how many different choices and butterfly effects you can have an effect on, and it also tells you how many the percentage of players who have chosen those options. Obviously, we played it pre-launch, so the percentages were fairly skewed in one way or the other. But I imagine now that it's out, once it's been out for a few days, those numbers will be quite interesting to see just who went with who and which way and how and why and all this sort of stuff.
I had a look at my kind of like spider webs, as I'm calling it, and I seem to do the most popular choices in my first playthrough. So I guess I was the standard, what everyone else did on their first playthrough.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's from the sounds of it, a lot of our initial choices were quite similar. Although we did vary at certain points, but we did kill the same person first, I do believe. When Frankstone eventually is reincarnated because they're filming at the mill, the sort of spooky vibes and the ghostly stuff starts to come out when they find his little murder lair with all the different body parts that the cops somehow missed in a mill.
That's another thing.
Apparently searched.
I was like, you've just obviously, completed or closed the case of Frankstone and he's murdered all these people. There is no way they wouldn't have tore that place apart. Yeah,
and they missed a room that was broken into by a train carriage that had gone off the rails.
To a room. We should definitely we'll leave that. There's nothing up there.
It's perfect teen movie fodder, but that did make me laugh. I was like, no way did they miss all of this. Anyway, you just found out, and then the essence of Frankstone starts to come back. The camera goes crazy that you bought off of the alternate version of Augustine Lieber. Frankstone reappears. Excuse me, in zombified form, no jaw, big chest cavity that eventually, like we said, ends up eating some people when he gets his hands on them. And Chris is being sort of dragged into a portal that's open just nearby, and you're playing as Jaime. You can either try and help Chris and stand your ground, or you can run away. We're both very noble. We thought we'd try and help her out. Instantly, Jaime diced into about 4 or 5 pieces. And that was the first death that we got. It wasn't even didn't even have a choice to quick time your way out of it. It was just no, you're done. You're fucked.
For me, that was the way I was playing Hamey, because I was like, do you know what, because obviously there's a bit of tension between characters and potential love interest, and obviously I just we had just reconciliated with Chris and decided to take our relationship together, and I was like, well, do you know, of course I'm going to try and save her. I'm not going to be a wimp and run away after I've just declared our love for each other. I'm going to try and save her, but obviously, I was sliced like salami, as I put it.
Because just before that as well, they just had an argument, haven't they, Robert and Jaime, about Jaime reckons Robert's trying to move in on Chris as his girlfriend. He's trying to take her away from him and all this sort of stuff, and then they do have a big fight. Again, the 2 times I've played it, it's been different, like the dialogue they've had. But Jaime was like, one time they just had a little chat. Another time Jaime was like, "Well, you've been spending a lot of time with Robert lately, and I think blah blah." And she was like, "I love you," and then I ran away when she got sucked into the portal. I was like, "Bye."
Yeah.
So we killed him first. Did you kill anyone else on your first playthrough?
No, that was my only kind of choice death, as it were. Obviously, Stan dies anyway, but that was my first playthrough. That was my one and only kind of character death.
Okay, so on my first playthrough, I ended up killing Stan, like I said, in the horror club, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Again, I highly recommend you watch that one because it's hilarious. And then I end up killing Sam right at the very end when Sam Stone come back and he ate him in his chest.
Oh,
And
of
so when
course.
I
Yeah, I
find,
forgot about that, didn't I? You have to sacrifice someone, don't you? But
yeah,
that's not really something you can prevent by the looks of it. So it's kind of like one of the.
well, I mean, you can just let him eat Stan, and then everybody else gets away from that.
I don't remember that being an option.
So when he grabs Stan, because let me back up a little bit. When Frank Stone does come back, when Augustine Lieber gets the film together,
You've
he
got the X,
comes.
aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, he comes through the movie screen, and the first person he grabs is Stan. Sorry, and if you
Yeah.
don't complete the sort of rapid button expresses, then he'll kill Stan. Whereas if you do complete that, then either Linda or Sam tend to be the ones he picks up, and then you either get to save one or the other. So I killed.
I think that's a much more satisfying death for Sam.
Yeah. So I killed, especially again, we're spoiling
There he
it now.
is.
So I'm
There
just
he
going to tell
is.
you,
Kill him.
there he is.
He doesn't even have an
when-
ultimate costume. That's how shitty
So
he
when,
is.
when Frank Stone's got him, he's like holding him up by his neck in the air, and just before he shoves him in his stomach to eat, or like in his chest to eat him, Stan's like, "Mommy." Yeah. So anyway, so I killed Jaime. I killed Stan by messing up the quick time event.
Yeah.
When Chris, again, because of the time travel stuff, when Chris gets sucked through the portal, she actually ends up coming out of like a sarcophagus in the, I'm going to try and say it again, the horror room, whatever the room is. And you sent her back, if that's, did you send her back the first time?
I did send her back first time, yeah. I don't know what made me do it, but I was like, do you know what? I was like, if you can take it this way, you can take it that way. So I was like, I'm going to chance it.
First time I chose to keep her because she was like, don't send me back. So I don't send her back. And that's in how Stan ends up dying there if you miss a quick time event. And then I killed Chris because once Frank Stone comes through the movie screen, she can try and go back through the other way to try and go back to her time. But she had the pendant on, which then burnt her to a crisp, basically. So the movie screen where Stan comes through, Frank Stone comes through.
Yeah,
acts as like a portal, so she tries to use it to go back to the 1980s. But because she had the necklace on, I'm assuming if she didn't have the necklace, if I'd have kept it, she wouldn't have died. I don't know. Probably, who knows? Like I said, there's like 16 different endings. We'll do them all at some point. And then I killed Sam. Like I said, Frank Stone killed him. So by the time I got to the end of the game the first time, the only character I had left was Linda, which. I mean, the ending seems fairly similar, like the gist of it. Excuse me, at least a couple of times I played through.
She definitely weirded out a bit, didn't she? She kind of almost became like entranced. Yeah. Obviously, I haven't seen the scene with her solo, but obviously, if you like me in my first playthrough where I had Maddie and Linda survive, get to the campfire. You know, Linda. Obviously, there's some other weird characters that we haven't seen before, just sitting around this fire, and Linda's like, "We've been waiting for you." Manny's like, "What? Why?" And I'm like, "What? Why are you being like this, Linda? What's happened to Linda? Is that the Linda I've been playing through, or was that potentially another alternate reality, Linda?"
Yeah, it can get a bit confusing. Like I said, with the different timelines at times, because when I finished it with all of them alive, Linda disappeared for a while, and then she just suddenly was already at the campfire before Maddie and Sam turned up.
Yeah.
I was like, how did she get here? And like you said, she was being all mystical and weird and sort of zoned out. So is this my Linda? Is it a different one? Did Frank get the other one? Who knows? So I killed loads of people. I managed to do it with keeping everyone else alive. I intend on going through and seeing who else we can kill. I was reading about a few deaths before we started here, which sound messed up, but interesting, including, again, like time traveling in the wrong way of doing it. And
so sorry, go on.
No, go.
No, I'll let you finish because mine's a bit of a sidetrack.
Okay, I was gonna say there's an ending, again, not to spoil too much for you, but we are doing a spoiler chat, where you can actually kill Maddie with Sam, and another one where Maddie ends up being almost possessed by Frank Stone by the sounds of it. I don't know how we get to that point just yet. And there's some other ones which I won't go into too much right now, but there's lots of different variety to see and do and try and figure out, and I'm very intrigued to do so. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to do it all, probably not, but I'd like to try and do at least a couple more variations on it. What was your sidetracks there?
Well, I was going to say, obviously, my first ending, my canon ending, as I call it, it kind of almost felt like there was a cliffhanger for a kind of a sequel for the future. I don't know if you felt that way with your kind of first playthrough.
Yeah, it definitely hints at there being more, doesn't it? Like when, I mean, again, spoiler for everyone here, when you get to the end, sort of Augustine Lieber ends up getting killed by the entity. Frank Stone.
One version of her, anyway.
Well, yeah, a version of her. Yeah, Frank Stone finds the campfire where everybody's made it to, whoever survived, and then they get like a voiceover from her saying that there'll be like endless suffering and no escape and all this sort of stuff, and it sort of sets it up as if what'd she say, like let the games begin or something. So it's almost like there's more to come. Like you perhaps there'll be a sequel where you're playing as a few of the survivors who are in these games trying to figure out a way out to try and undo what she's done to the world or worlds or universes, what have you.
Yeah, I mean, Linda can die, can't she? So I don't think if there is a sequel, they'll have to do a completely new cast, because obviously there's, as I said, there's 16 different potential endings. So if they were to do a sequel, it would be a completely new cast, I reckon.
Yeah, either that or they'll have to pick a canon ending, like you said, and try and fix. But obviously, everybody's going to have different first playthroughs, second playthroughs, 20th playthroughs. Who knows? But yeah, I think overall, apart from like I said, one or two moments where like, where are we now? Who are we with? I think the story generally was really enjoyable. And aside from the intentionally annoying Stan, no one really was poorly acted or written or presented. I was interested to see everybody's sort of where they were going and who they were being friends with, and what their outcome would be and how they would get there, and whether they'd help X person and Y person, all sorts of stuff.
And there's no like famous. I mean, I didn't recognise any of the actors anyway. Obviously, in the Quarry, you had quite a lot of famous characters, and obviously House of Ashes, you had like Ashley Tisdale. Devil in Me, was it? I think there was one or two people I think I recognised. But I think
most of the Dark Pictures have had at least one or two famous actors.
Yeah, whereas this one, I don't think I recognised anyone. Without research, I haven't researched anyone, but first look, so I didn't recognise anyone. So.
Yeah, I did have. I've got the cast up here. I don't recognise their names, but I'm not really. I probably wouldn't recognise any names of most people. If you show unless you show me their face, which again I don't recognise too many of these people here. But all the people who've done it aren't the same. Aren't like the face capture as well. They're all just doing voice. And the characters appear to be like original designs. Because no one here really looks like the people they played. So we not too much anyway. So yeah, Troy Baker, Nolan North, and Mark Hamill. But yeah, so I think you got anything else you'd like to bring up from your overall experience from the casting of Frank Stone?
No, I think we've pretty much covered the gist of it, haven't we? It's obviously it is slower paced, which I think works very well in how they're trying to tell the story. There's no major jump scares, but it does have that atmosphere of, is someone behind me? Is someone watching me? The time traveling bits between the 2 decades that you go to and from between the main story is very well done. Like you said, all characters are very well written, acted, and spoken. It looks lovely, like all Supermassive Games do. The puzzles were nice and easy. None of the puzzles were, sometimes you'll get a puzzle in a game where sometimes the easiest puzzle will just throw you off and you think it just ends the game because you can't do it. Whereas this one, it's like, do you know what? You don't have to go too far to find the missing pieces. It gives you big.
And they even referenced that, didn't they, at one point with the gate I mentioned getting into the reliquary. You need an item, and I think it's Linda says, "Oh, maybe there's something around here," and some Maddie or maybe the other way around says, "What?" So they just hide the key in plain sight in the room next to where it needs to go, which they don't want anyone to get in. And it's like, you're kind of a bit on the nose there. And it literally is like
breaking the third wall or fourth wall, isn't it? It's like,
by the time you solve the puzzle, there's a little statue on the table next to the door, and it's literally in there.
One thing also I liked as well is obviously you got all your trinkets and collectibles. Obviously, when you're to kind of obviously encourage exploration. Obviously, you've got the trinkets, but obviously you can find like random keys around like areas. Like in, I think when you go to the garage at one point, you know, you can see a cassette player. It kind of almost lets you know, by the way, look, you got a cassette player here, and then on the other side of the room, you've got the actual cassette itself, and it's like, oh, actually, do you know what? I can actually put the cassette in the radio, and I got the achievement, because then that's how you find out. Because obviously in the prequel we got is it Martin, the security guard or whatever he is,
Holt, Tom Holt.
Tom, that's the one. Like, he seems a bit of an alcoholic, and on the tape, you know, you get a little tidbit of, because of Sam's actions in 1963, he kind of becomes sober. So it's a nice little kind of like, oh, excuse me.
Yeah. A little optional extra that you don't have to play.
So it gives you that little bit of, do you know what? I should probably I should have a look around, because if I do find a key or I do find something, it can potentially open up a door later up, which will kind of give a bit more lore and background to the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And going on the same sort of aspect to that, there was one part in the mill when you're playing as a teenager, sort of shooting a film, where there's actually, I think, one of each of the little collectibles and some more lore, like some notes and stuff, which you only find if you picked up a key, like 4 or 5 scenes before that, in a completely different area. And the first time I missed it, the second time I picked up a key, I was like, what the fuck is this for? And so I couldn't find it, so I just carried on. And then eventually I stumbled across a door, which like the previous time I couldn't unlock, but this time, because I had the key, I could. And then there's a whole like little puzzle sequence you go through, like I said, a couple of collectibles, a couple of little lore pieces that, you know, explore more about Frank Stone and what he got up to at the mill. And you can just completely bypass all of that, or if you want to, you can get into the weeds and find even more information.
So is there anything for you that kind of stuck out as you're talking to like a 6-year-old? What's your favorite part of the game, Jamie? Like, is there a part of
I really liked the bit where the man got squished.
Like, is there anything that stood out for you that you thought was like excellent here? And I guess leading on, you know, where would you put this? Like, if we were to, you know, we got our own little rankings of where Supermassive Games go. I mean, where would you put this? Like, in the top 3, bottom 3, middle of the road, in terms of your favorite in the series of these kind of games that Supermassive have released?
So I think my favorite part of the game was it was generally, it was the story, like the way it twisted and turned, and sort of again, even though it could be a little bit confusing at times, it was still well done enough to the point where sometimes I'd come find myself drifting off a little bit when in games like this. Like, just get on with it. I want to see that. You know, I'm not interested in you talking about your childhood.
And that's where you miss the QT sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas this one, I was engaged throughout the whole. Well, both playthroughs completely. I didn't want to miss anything. One time I was playing it when. Well, I probably shouldn't have been. The kids were playing over there, and I was sitting on my little screen here, tucked away from him, and I was playing it for a little bit. And every time I come over, I'm like, pause. I don't want to miss a single thing they're saying. What do you want? Okay, right. Let me go do whatever it is you need me to do, and I come back and put and carry on going. Whereas in some other games, I'm like, yes, let it play wherever that matter. But yeah, the story for me definitely was my favourite part of the overall package, and yes, it's something that I would like to play at least a few more times and try and experience a few more different scenes and outcomes and. All sorts of wonderful stuff like that. In terms of ranking, I still think Man of Medan's my favourite. That might just be a bit of very light nostalgia at this point because it's not actually that old. But I think Man of Medan, probably House of Ashes, and then this. I think in the
so this goes above Until Dawn, does it?
Yeah, definitely goes above Until Dawn. Goes above Little Hope, of course. Devil and Me was good, but that's. Still, again, I think in the grand scheme of these sort of games on the lower end, and then The Quarry I'd probably put below Devil and Me just because I think I wasn't quite ready for it, A, to take too long, and B, not to be co-op play, which we can talk about briefly in a second. But if it had had a little bit shorter and the co-op play, I probably might have ranked it a little bit higher. But yeah, this is definitely top 3 for me in terms of Supermassive Games. What about yourself? Favorite thing, ranking, and then we can talk a little bit about the co-op, and then we can bounce.
Yeah, I think I just echo what you said. Really, I think the story is really well done. Like yourself, like, you know, obviously I was trying to play it. You know, my kids running around creating noise, and it's like you get to, like yourself, like if they came down and were starting talking, right, pause the game. What are you doing? well, I need you to guys stop talking so I can listen to what they're saying. Because as much as I'd love to just put headphones on and just ignore the world, you can't do that as a parent, unfortunately. You need to listen out in case they start fighting, you see. So, so yeah, I think, like yourself, like the story had me gripped. It had me kind of wanted to, not to complete it as fast as I can, but one of those stories where you didn't want to put the controller down. It was like, right, one more scene, one more scene, one more scene, and eventually it's like, right, I'm falling asleep. Yeah, not because of the game, but it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I need to go to bed. I've got to wake up in 4 hours. You know. So I think, like you said, the story I think is really good. Rankings again, I think it's definitely one of the better ones. House of Ashes always goes to the front of my mind. I mean, as much as I did love Man and Medan, I really did. It has some really cool characters in there. Mandan, I think, will always be in the top. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, this will be up the top with Man and Medan, with House of Ashes, with Until Dawn. Like, it's like I don't like to put a number one on these kind of games because they're all fantastic in their own way. And yeah, I think that this would definitely be in the top half. Like, a bit like I agree with yourself, you know. Little Hope is probably there's Chris's costume. That I think Little Hope is probably like the weakest. Even again, we reiterate, it's not a bad game at all. It's just what we think is the weakest of all the games. I really like the Quarry again, but again, like you said, the Quarry was long paced, but I think it was a bit too long paced, and there was a bit too much to explore. You kind of explored so much, you kind of almost forgot the story, where it was going or where you're supposed to go. Whereas this is, you know, here in the Castle of Frank Stone, you can explore, but it's not big rooms to explore. You know, there's quite tight spaces. You don't have to. It doesn't take you 5 minutes to walk around the circle of what you're trying to do. You know,
and they don't waste your time by being like, oh, there could be something right the way over there, out the way. Yeah, maybe not though. Here everything is quite condensed, and chances are, if you can find a different route, there's going to be something.
On my first playthrough, you know, I like to explore, but I like to explore and I like to try and find the trinkets, but I'm never one that usually finds all of them. However, in this one, you know, I only missed 2 of the 12 dolls. I got all the evidence and I got all the clues, and I think I got 7 out of the 12 trinkets that you find. So even though I was exploring, but not super exploring, I actually managed to find probably 80% of what was left out there. So I think I enjoyed that part as well. The fact that, you know, it is out, you know, you don't have to explore. You don't have to walk 5 minutes in that direction just for one trinket and then walk all the way back. You know, it is all nicely close knitted. And I definitely appreciate that as well.
Yeah, it keeps it flowing. Like I said, even though it is still a longer game than the Dark Pictures, it's not too long. And you're not wasting so much time just slowly walking from one place to another.
I think this is definitely the right length. I think, you know,
absolutely.
For this kind of paced game, because obviously, you know, the Dark Pictures, usually you get to Act 1. Obviously, you get the prologue out of the way, and then at the end of Act 1 is usually when you get the first kind of cliffhanger into something's going on. Sometimes it's kind of halfway through chapter 2, whereas here, you know, I think we're in chapter 2 now, you know, but it's not until, you know, much later where things start to get a bit spooky, but it's that well paced that you don't feel like, you know, you need to get there don't need to rush there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's never like, come on, get on with the frights, get on with the murders, get on with it. It's like, actually, this is an entertaining story, and now shit's hit the fan. No shit. Really, really, really well done. We mentioned it just now. Let's have a couple of quick negatives, because it's not a perfect game by any means, but a couple of quick negatives. The big one for me, and probably yourself as well, is a lack of co-op. We've played all of the Dark Pictures games in co-op at least once, if not more. And the Quarry was lacking it, which was a shame, because it was just like spectator mode. This doesn't have it at all unless you're playing local, in which case it's like pass the pad, where you switch between characters in certain scenes and stuff.
Yeah, and you're still seeing the same person, aren't you? So.
Yeah, not quite the same, so not really what we're after. I'm hoping co-op comes back for Directive 8020, which is the next Dark Pictures game next year. But there would have been nice to see that in this one. I think they probably could have done it quite well, because a lot of the time there are at least 2 characters on screen.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't have been too much of a stretch to either have you playing together, or like in Dark Pictures again, have you playing as Linda in one timeline or one area, and me playing as Maddie in another area, or something like that. It's all.
Oh yeah, could you imagine playing the two timelines parallel to each other? Like
it
you're
could have
in
been possible,
the past and you're in
it
the
could have
present.
been. It could have been pretty cool, but alas, 'twas not to be. 'Twas not to be. Do you have anything you would have liked to, any sort of improvements or tweaks you would have liked to have made to the game?
Yeah, like you said, co-op's the big thing, and I think the A button QT really annoyed me because the first time it came up, I always forgot and think, oh shit, I missed it. But I think as well is I don't think there's a lot of consequences from. Obviously, I think as long as you don't miss the last QTE, I think you're generally fine in terms of like saving characters. Like you saw, if you're watching this rather than like watching us, you saw at the start where I missed that QT where the thing fell from the ceiling and hit the guardrail. I missed that QT because of the A button lag, but it didn't affect the ending. That was exactly the same kind of ending I got when I hit that QT in the first one. So, I don't think there's a lot of consequences for missing until you actually miss the last pivotal one.
There is one
no one
later
gets
on,
injured or anything like that.
which I'm assuming you did, which is when Frank Stone's chasing either Maddie or Linda through the mansion, and they run up the stairs to the lock gate. Did you get to that point? They're trying to escape from him, and they run up the stairs. I
think we got to the elevator, didn't they? Did he come through was it an elevator?
Yeah, it's after the elevator. So when he smashes through the door, when you've gone up in the elevator, and then you're running through the building, they run up the stairs to a locked door. Excuse me, and there's a button QT there. If you miss the first one, he hits you, but then you get one more chance to press it again to escape, which is what I managed to do.
Yeah, I missed that one. Yeah,
I missed it the second time I hit it first time, but the first time I missed the first one. And I was like, oh man, I've just killed her for no reason. But luckily, it was but a scratch.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally, like you said, unless you really cough it up early on, anyway, it's hard to kill anyone.
Pretty much.
But in the last chapter, it's very easy to kill everybody. But
and you got 3 difficulties there as well, haven't you? So if you're not fantastic at QTs, then there is an easy option, and if you want everyone to die, there is the hard mode.
Yes. I must admit, I didn't actually explore them because I just left it on whether it was survival
the standard mode,
the middle one, which was just the right balance, I think, of trickiness and sort of frequency. But yeah, like I said, if you want to make it a little bit easy for yourself, you can knock it down. I think overall, we're both pretty happy with the casting of Frank Stone from Supermassive. It's good that we finally got a game from them without having to wait too long. I just missed it there. That was another thing I was going to mention earlier on. That poster in the shack where you first meet Tom Holt, the guardsman. Did you notice that changed in both scenes? The first time it's like keep him hooked or something, and then the second time it says reel him in. And when I saw that, I was like, that's weird. But that was way before like we discovered the like the timeline differences and different universes. Yeah, so that one there says keep him hooked, and the first one says reel him in or lure him in. I think it is.
Yeah, lure him in.
I was like, why is that? I said, why is that changed? I was like, is it something different? And I was like, oh wait, and then it's just little touches like that that sort of get you thinking about, hang on, what's
it's another kind of See, now you know the story. You're thinking, so that's why the poster changed.
Exactly. But yeah, anyway, so I think that'll do us for this evening. As we record it right now on a wonderful Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. I know it's not right. It was 8 p.m.-ish by the time we started. But yes, the Castle Frank Stone, like I said, our review is up now on xboxtavern.com. You can go read that. That'd be wonderful. We've got the first 90 minutes, which is what we've been talking over here, just without us waffling on as well. If you'd like to watch that up on the YouTube channel, you can find more reviews and opinions and stuff on xboxtavern.com, youtube.com/xboxtavernofficial. We got unboxings, we got gameplay clips, we got all sorts of stuff coming up, including our podcast, which we record each and every Sunday at 8 p.m.
Solo-ish.
Occasionally with special guest Pete, but mainly with myself and a few of the other lads, Graham and Ian and Ross. Yeah, I know. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching this. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the game. Let us know if you do down below and all that good stuff. I'm not very good at YouTube spiel just yet. But yeah, let us know what you think of our chat, of the game, of Xbox Tavern, about games in general. Feel free to get in touch. For now, I've been Jamie. You can find me at EnaxSand on various places. You can find Special Guest Pete
At Peter Kinich.
And we will catch you hopefully when Supermassive release Directive 8020 next year and we get back together again to shoot the shit and chat about that one. But for now, goodbye.
Goodbye.